Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about how to be successful in the RA position, whether that's a resident advisor position, resident assistant, community assistant. If it is a live-in job where you're helping residents in the dorms, this video is for you to help you be successful in the position. Now, how do I know these things? I was an RA for 2 years in school, and then I became a professional staff member and actually lived and worked in the dorms for over 6 years at 3 different institutions, supervising RAs, desk staff, helping with movement, all the ins and outs of the dorms. And so these are all my tips to make you successful in the RA position. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Number 1 is to know your organization style. You cannot, in the RA position, be a just go with the flow, it is what it is, I'll procrastinate everything and do it later type of person. You need to have an organization system, whether that is you like having a digital calendar or digital planner, if you like an actual paper planner, if you like to have a big calendar on the wall or like a skylight calendar, whatever floats your boat and is going to keep you organized is a necessity for the position. You are going to have deadlines for tons of RA things, plus school, plus maybe an outside job, personal items. Like, you need to have a way to organize all of that information into one thing. So when you're in meetings or you're preparing for different stuff, you know where everything is together and not having an RA to-do list over here and a schoolwork and a personal one and trying to cross-reference those things. Know your organization style, stick to it, and get everything there. Now, number 2, with your organization system, as soon as you get any deadlines, put them in. Now, those are deadlines for schoolwork, for getting papers and homework assignments done, tests, RA duty, RA programming requirements, or bulletin board requirements, anything with due dates. Put them into your organization system right away. By the time you leave RA training, you should have all your stuff put in there. Check all your RA deadlines, get them into your organization system, pull your class syllabuses as soon as they are available, get those dates and deadlines in there to set yourself up for success. I've seen so many times where students have all that information and then don't put it into their organizational style and balls will drop. You will miss things. So do it right away before school even starts. Get as much as you can onto an organization system so that you don't miss anything. Now, number 3, I talked about not procrastinating. I highly recommend scheduling time to actually do things. Now, it's not just, oh, my paper is due, next week. Oh, my bulletin board is due in 2 weeks. Actually schedule out time for you to do those things. If you don't plan ahead on when you're going to study, when you're going to write your paper, when you're going to actually take the time to create the bulletin board and think of the idea and then actually put it on the wall or make flyers, you're going to lose track of time. Things are going to come up. It's so easy living in the dorms and living on campus to get caught up in all the things that are going on to where you will miss those opportunities that you need to be prepared for school and be prepared for the job. So I recommend whatever your organization system is, you're going to put in your classes, you're going to put in your RA deadlines, you're going to put in all your homework and test deadlines, and then go in and schedule out time where you're actually going to do all those things. Because it's great to know the due date, but if you don't have time to do the things for the due date, it's not going to happen. And especially with schoolwork things. I've seen this so many times where students prioritize the RA job over school. Now, there has to be a balance between the things for you to be successful. But if you're getting wrapped up with your residents, you're going to all the programs, you're doing all the things, and then you don't plan time to study, do your papers, get out of the building maybe and go to a study room or the library, school is going to drop. And at the end of the day, you have to be a student typically to be an RA. You typically have to have a certain GPA maintained to be an RA. So you need to do well in school. So make sure that is a priority of getting those things done. Now, number 4, I had RAs who loved this and hated this whenever I recommended it, but I'm going to recommend it to you. Figure out what your policy is for nights off or weekends away and request those ASAP. I had so many students who would do this, during RA training, and it worked out really well for them. Some who wouldn't, who are more as things happen, but request what time you need off as soon as you can. Many RA positions are going to have a policy for that about when you need to request that time off, how far in advance you need to request it off, how many days in a row you might be able to request it off. There might be a total of how many days and nights you can have for the entire semester or quarter. I know at my last institution, we allowed 16 nights to be sleeping out of your bed in the semester. That equaled 1 a week. Figure out those policies, request that time off. If you know you have a wedding coming up, you know you have a concert, you know you want to go home on a certain weekend, request those. Because depending on the housing policy, there may be policies in place where they're only allowed to have so many RAs out of the community at a time. A great example of this is Halloween. At every school I've worked at, we've had policies where we're not allowed to be below half staff. So if I had a building of 16 RAs, 8 could be out approved and 8 had to be in the building at that time. So obviously that would go really quick because people want to have that time off to go out for Halloween and celebrate, or Valentine's Day, days where you want to be gone, request those ASAP. Obviously you can do it later as well, but if just get it done and get that time off request put in. Now, number 5, this should go without saying, but I feel like people need a reminder. Be kind to all RAs. Whether or not you personally like the other RAs you're working with or RAs in other communities, be kind. Do not talk shit. Be kind to them because you're all in this together. At the end of the day, you never know when you're going to be handling a terrible situation with somebody, and you need to have that foundation of trust and colleagues to be able to do your job. If you are starting drama, if you are talking shit about other RAs, especially in front of residents, or it gets back to them, it gets back to the professional staff, that makes you look like a terrible employee. You need to be polite. You need to be courteous to everyone. You never know who's going to take that info back to somebody and create drama, which you do not need. There's enough drama in the RA position and in being a student in college in general. You don't need it. So be friends, be courteous, be kind to all the RAs. Number 6 goes into that. Do favors. And what I mean by this is if RAs or even desk attendant staff come up to you and ask you to switch shifts, to trade, to cover. If you have the availability, do it. If an RA is supposed to be on duty and they're sick and they're asking for help and you're available, jump at that chance. The more favors you do for people, the more likely they are to reciprocate that when you need that. Now, some of these are planned in advance, like, hey, can you take my next Friday desk shift and I'll switch you for whatever shift. Some of them are last minute though. Maybe there's illness, a mental health emergency, a family emergency. Do what you can to help your colleagues so that they will help you when you have those last minute emergencies. And number 7, this kind of goes into what we talked about earlier, but do not talk shit about your professional staff. If you're going to do it, make sure it is nowhere near residents can hear, and be very careful with who you confide in that. Your professional staff are your bosses. Now, many of the times they also live in the dorms and they share your own experiences with the joys and the lows of that experience. But at the end of the day, they're your boss. And if you're running your mouth and talking smack and that is getting back to them, obviously that does not make you look like a good employee. And if you're having issues with professional staff, you need to be addressing them. So if that is your actual staff, like your direct supervisor, go and talk to them. You can grab another professional staff to help you mediate the situation if needed. If it's another professional staff in a different community, ask your professional staff for help mediating a conversation with them to clear the air and figure it out. Oftentimes I see this happening late at night when incidences are happening. So let's say there's a big situation with a lot of drinking, maybe there's super intoxicated students. You have to call the professional staff for backup, and maybe something was said or done that just rubbed you the wrong way. If you can, go follow up with that professional staff later, like the next day, the next business day, or talk to your professional staff and then try to have a conversation with all of you to clear the air. Because I can tell you, when you let that stuff fester, it creates unnecessary unease for you or taints that professional staff in your view when you are going to need them for emergency situations. You can't avoid them. You're going to have to work with them. So make sure you're not running your mouth, you're following up if there are issues, and having those conversations to clear the air. Now, number 8, during the week of move-in, and also I'd say the first week of school, do your best to be super present in your community. Be around for your residents, get to know all of them, get to know their names, figure out how you're communicating with them, whether that's text or through an app or email, whatnot. Figure out how you can get in contact with them. Make sure you are learning their names. That makes people feel so at home when you learn their names, their faces. And something you could do for that is at maybe your first community meeting, talk with everyone about snapping a photo of them so you can make yourself digital or physical flashcards to remember people's names faster. Do whatever you need to do to learn their names, learn exactly where they live and how to communicate with them. It's going to make your life so much smoother. Also, with that, being in the community as much as you can those first 2 weeks is really good to establish those relationships with residents and let them know you are available to be a resource for them. I can tell you straight up from my 2 years of being an RA. My first year, I was super involved with my residents. I was there those first 2 weeks and I got to know them. I knew all their names by the end of move-in week. And that created a great year for us. Even when there were challenges, even there were times when some of us were being assholes, we had that camaraderie. They knew they could come to me. My second year, I broke my hand during move-in and I was moving a bed and it slammed on my hand. It was a great time. I was not as present. Once that happened, I was in pain, I was exhausted, and I did not spend that extra time during move-in or during that first week of school to really get to know my residents, to learn all their names, their faces, let them know I was around. I very much was more reclusive. I was out with my friends and doing things, and it created kind of a barrier. Now, eventually I fixed those relationships with a lot of my students, but it wasn't the same as my first year in that camaraderie and trust I had with my floor because I wasn't as present. And I've also seen this happen with friends when, they're super active involved in their sorority or their fraternity and they're, going to those things during that time and not being as present in their floor or wanting to go see their own friends. Those first 2 weeks, you really need to spend as much time as you can in the building just to build those relationships. So then later you're set up for success and you don't have to be around as much. Number 9, this is super basic as just being an employee, but I'm going to reiterate it anyway. Be on time. Be on time to all meetings. Be on time to all rounds or safety checks. Be on time to all desk shifts. Anything where you are supposed to be there at a certain time, be on time. This will create so many issues for you professionally and with your supervisors if you are late, but also with your colleagues. If we say we're meeting at 8 p.m. to do our first set of rounds and walk around the community, do all our safety checks, and you're late, you're wasting your colleagues' time. You're festering resentment right there by being late. Now, obviously, if you know you're going to be late, be communicative with them, see if you can make adjust. Maybe we can meet at 8:15 instead of 8. But making people wait around for you is so unprofessional and it's ridiculous. Don't do it. You are going to cause more drama and problems for yourself by being late. Now, number 10, if you have a rough incidences, so let's say, you were dealing with a really tough situation the night before, maybe someone had to be transported to the hospital, maybe someone was assaulted and confided in you and you had to go through that whole process, or it was an out-of-hand wild drinking party and residents said some terrible things to you, you can debrief with your fellow RAs. That is healthy. It's good to do. But go to your professional staff and let them know about the situation, how it affected you, and kind of talk through that process with them. It's also good for them to know if, things were said or done that were not cool, whether it's by residents or your fellow RAs. Talk through all those things. Talk through all those emotions with your professional staff because it's going to help you to talk about it. It might also be a situation where they're able to give you advice for next time if something happens, or document things even further. Like if a resident is calling you terrible things during one of those situations, you're going to put it in your report, but maybe say your professional staff member is not the one who's going to deal with that report in that conduct session. Letting them know, hey, this person called me XYZ or this happened, just so they're aware of the situation is a great idea. So if more things happen and a pattern emerges, they can help you deal with it later. Now, number 11, this kind of just goes into what we were talking about, but I need you to remember a lot of residents have a tendency to be assholes when they're being held accountable for their own actions. Now that sounds terrible, but most people do not like to be held accountable for their own actions. So if they are drinking and partying in the dorms, they're smoking cannabis or vaping, they're doing things they're not allowed to do. And you as an RA, as part of your job, have to, go into that situation, confront it. You have to make them pour out their alcohol or their cannabis. You have to, confiscate some of their items they're not allowed to have and toss them. You have to write your report. Many times residents, especially when they're not in their right sense of mind, are going to be assholes. They just are. It is going to happen. All of those things, you need to document them in the report when you write your incident report after the fact, but also do your best to not take it to heart. Now that is hard and it's frustrating, especially when they're just being so rude to you, or they're personally attacking you, or just being difficult little shits. I say this after 10 years of experience. It's gonna happen. Don't take it personally. It's about you holding them accountable is what their problem is, and not about you as a human. So try to let it roll off your back. You can have a debrief with your professional staff. You can have a debrief with your RAs who are there. Try not to let that cloud your entire opinion of that student, but also don't let it cloud on you, because it's not about you. It's about their choices and how they chose to react. It's not about you. Let it roll off your back as best as you can. Now, number 12, we talked about this with move-in in the first week of school, but be around consistently on your floor, your wing, your building, as often as you can. Now, how I recommend this once the school year is going, see if you can schedule out for yourself time where you're just gonna have your door open. Maybe after class every Tuesday, Thursday, you're able to have your door open and be present in your room from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now, you could be doing homework, you could be working on array stuff, but just having a consistency of your door being open and residents being able to see you in the building and know you're there often will eventually lead to them coming and talking to you during those times, or just feeling like you are available for them when things do happen at different times. So be as present as you can, set yourself up, be scheduled as much as you can so students know you're around and you are that resource. Now, number 13 should go without saying, but be polite and courteous and thank your custodial maintenance staff. They deal with so much and we cannot do our jobs without them. Now, you can imagine what going into community bathroom can be like after a night out where people are drinking and there's vomit and things all over it, and they have to clean all that. It's a hot mess and you don't want to do it. But they're doing it as part of their job. So always be thankful for them, be courteous, be kind, have understanding, have empathy. Sometimes it can be really frustrating when a bathroom is closed for a maintenance project or for them needing to clean it uninterrupted. Try your best to not hold any animosity for that, even if you're like, oh, I need to shower. Go to a different area, go to a different floor, go to a different bathroom. It is what it is. Be kind and courteous because, you don't want to be scrubbing or fixing those toilets. So be kind and courteous to those individuals. The buildings cannot survive without them. Number 14 is to listen to any feedback that is given to you by your professional staff or your fellow RAs. Now, I'll be honest, in this world, most people try to avoid giving and taking feedback as much as possible. And if someone is taking the time to give you feedback, there is a reason for it. And 9 times out of 10, it's constructive feedback that will help you in the job as an RA and potentially your future career. Listen, take note, make an action plan of what you can do with that feedback to do better and be better. The RA position in general gives you so many opportunities to learn how to be a great human being, a great employee, a great citizen. Take all that feedback. There is a reason why companies love hiring previous RAs because of how many responsibilities you handle, the organization system. But your ability to take feedback and make action on that makes such a difference. I've also supervised professional staff members before, and there's a huge difference of having someone you're supervising who can take feedback and learn and grow from it, and those who do not take feedback. You don't want to work with the person who doesn't want to grow and learn and improve on themselves. You want to work with the person who's like, okay, what else can we do? How can we fix this? How can we make things better? And we'll help you do that as well. And then my last one, number 15. Now, this one may rub you the wrong way, but please, to be successful in this position, you have to be in the RA job for more than just the compensation package. Now, depending on where you are as an RA, community assistant, it might be very basic. You might, get free housing but have to share a room. You might get a free private room. You might get a meal plan or parking permit. Every school is different, but you need to be in it for more than those things. Now, as someone who really feels like I survived and was able to afford college by being an RA, like, I get it. The compensation package matters. If you didn't have the compensation package, you probably wouldn't do the job, but you need to be in it for other things as well, whether that is helping your residents, whether that is making that camaraderie with your fellow colleagues, whether it's growing yourself as a human for your future career. There needs to be other things that motivate you besides the compensation, because at the end of the day, you're living where you work. You're living and working with the same colleagues. You're living with your residents. There are so many sacrifices you make for the RA position. There's so many challenges. There's so many things you need to do to be organized, to be successful. You have to be in it for other goals than just compensation. Alright, y'all, so those were my top 15 things to be successful in the RA position. If you've been an RA before, community assistant before, let us know in the comments what are some other things people need to be successful in this position. Or if you're coming into the position, what are things that you think you need to work on to be successful? Let us know in the comments. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next Monday for a new video.